So we're currently at the scheduled time, 5 p.m. EST. So we're gonna start this thing right here. Let me just get the recording ready, and we are off. So welcome everybody. We appreciate you stopping by for the podcast today. This is the first season of the Million Podcast. That's right. We did do some Shiny Colors podcast before on the channel, and now we're moving over to Million Live. This is one of our steps going forward in providing content for all branches because whenever we post off videos, we always see people commenting, can you do this stuff for that branch? Can you do this stuff for that branch? And it's definitely hectic, but it's more than my pleasure to provide every single piece of content I can. So we've already done the Shiny podcast. This time we're going to do a Million podcast. And for today, I am joined by Metal from the Million Live Discord. Metal, how you doing?
I'm actually doing really good, Reno. How about yourself?
I'm very fine. I just woke up and I just had my coffee, so I'm pretty good. That's all I need. And we started off the Shiny podcast with a small introduction of the co-host I had there. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be tired of my self-introduction, so Metal, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Metal. Full producer name is Metal P. I've actually been into Idolmaster since around late 2012. Yeah, late 2012. I started because, well, I was actually like super into Toho, and I was like browsing fan art as I usually do because I really like seeing fan art of different characters that I like from different series. And then I saw specifically Hibiki, and I'm like, oh, this girl, she looks really cute. I want to see where she's from, and that's kind of where I stepped into the rabbit hole from then on. I saw the Namako Pro anime, and then I went on from there, and then eventually I saw the Cinderella Girls anime. I played the mobile games, specifically Derasute and Mirishita. I played a little bit of Emusute. Wasn't too much my thing, but I gave it a try, and I also played a little bit of Shiny Colors, so I did dabble a bit into the Idolmaster series as a whole.
From Toho, you say. Dang. I myself was a really, really ancient Toho guy back way then, like even way before 2012. So it's kind of like it goes into along that Toho and Idolmaster, and the last one would be Vocaloid. They were like the queens of
Yeah.
the series before, way back when. When you visit the ancient Japanese internet, that's all you see. You literally just see Toho, Vocaloid, and 765. So glad to see that we have someone coming in from that background. So we're gonna cut the chit chatter right now, and we're going to move on to the questions. As with the Shiny podcast, we're going to start off the first season of the podcast with just some basic questions, set the tone for how the season is going to roll out each episode. We don't want to start off the season with big topics that people might just, give a lot of their opinions on. We're going to start off a little slow so that we have something to look forward to. Our first question is, what do you like most about Million Live? And from the format we've had, which we seem to like, I'm going to start off with my co-host, Metal P, today, and then I'll give my own feedback. So, Metal P, what do you like most about Million Live?
So, in terms of Million Live in general, there are two things especially that I really like about it. One is the characters. Now, of course, I know the characters in general aren't necessarily as in-depth as someone from, say, Namco AS or Shiny Colors, but in general, I feel like every single character has their own unique quirk, personality traits, and just are overall so much fun together that I really just enjoy seeing all of these girls together, what they do, what they're all about, and just learning more about them and everything. And the second thing I really like is just, well, out of every branch, I think Million Live is the one that just has the most fun with itself. Like, because it's in a theater setting, I feel like that gives them a ton of freedom to just go and do whatever they want. So while, yeah, you do have the usual like idol stuff in terms of how, events and themes are done, you also have stuff like, superheroes or RPG battles or pro wrestling or like a horror movie or anything like that. And I feel like that just makes the whole thing really, really enjoyable. And it also really helps that it's an easy transition from, Namco or 765 AS. I'm sorry for, the pronunciations, but yeah, going from them to Million Live was a pretty easy transition because, oh, hey, look, the original idols are part of the cast, so I can easily transition over with some of my old favorites and also, dabble into this new series and have potentially some new favorites as well.
what you said about the way they just have fun with the scenarios they put themselves in, it's really surprising how I would compare the cast of Million Live to be very base, very ground based, and very human. But the things they do is very outlandish. In comparison to a branch like CG, where they have these outlandish characters, people or girls who are into stuff like guns, girls who are into stuff like zombies, and you have specific girls who have these very outlandish things about them, but the scenarios they put them in CG are quite normal. Here in Middle Life, you have, very regular girls, very regular looking characters, but the things they do, they go into space, they battle with demons, they unlock gates to hell. I don't get it, but it's really, really fun. You unlock a portal to the jungle world at the back of the theater. I don't it's
The
very yeah, it's very like supernatural, and it's the way they have fun with these kind of things that sets them apart from the scenarios that other branches have. Well, other branches have been delving into those kind of things recently. Shiny Colors also has scenario communes where they kind of like get transported to another world, but Million Live was the very first one who had these scenarios. What I personally like about Million Live, and this is probably an echoed statement consistently all throughout the fan base. It's something that when you go to Million Live, you know what you're going for, and that's definitely the music. Music, by far, if I can say one thing that Million Live will be proud of, it's its music. The talent the way the talent is managed in this branch is almost equal to none. Because for those of you who are listening and who aren't exactly familiar with the Seiyu cast, because Seiyu is extremely hard to get into. Seiyu also means voice actor. I'm no Seiyu expert by any facet of the imagination, but if you look at the cast for Million Live, there's a vast majority or a nice chunk of the cast of Million Live Seiyu who are already anisong or solo artists. Solo artists who make their own music outside of Idolmaster. Heck, all three of the main stoplight trio, you have Tsubasa Mirai and Shizuka, they're all solo recording artists as of today, as of the recording of this podcast. So they have this level of talent where you can ask them to make any song, you can ask them to be put into any situation, and they'll just let loose with their extreme vocal talent or recording talent. It's most personified when you look at Million Live voting series, right? The voting series like Theater Boost or Theater Challenge. It's very hard to have a series where you vote for idols and then the result would be these five random girls who no one would really expect to be combined together, and the song would turn out great. Some of the best songs in the recent decade have turned out to be extremely good because of the voting series. Case in point, Last Actress, which was, that thing was probably the perfect storm of. I think Last Actress definitely defines Million Live. If you want to know what Million Live is, Last Actress is the entire thing. It's a very kooky scenario because you got the murder mystery, you got the thing with the clown and stuff. It showcases Seiyu talent above all because you got Takamina, you've got Tane-chan, you've got Paisen, and you've got the new one, Minamisaki, as Sumugi as part of the cast. So I think if you want a complete package to describe what Million Live is and what makes Million Live great, it's definitely Last Actress. Kind of gives you some sort of like feedback or give you like a outlook on why that event was probably and still going to be the bloodiest IMAS Mobaga event of all time. I don't think there's anything topping that event in recent years. So
and it also
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
also like it really says something. Also, because that was like the very first event where Tane-chan, who is Kotoha's voice actress Risa Taneda, actually came back after taking a year leave of sickness, and Kotoha wasn't even in Million Live for like almost the entire first year of the game. So she immediately came back, and people are like, I want her first event SR right away because Kotoha is like super freaking popular, and everyone's just like, well, I need her right now. So yeah, it's character popularity, the quality of the song, and the quality of the event all combined to just make it a complete bloodbath. That it's like if you tier one the Last Actress event, you deserve a lifetime achievement award for how much of a legend you are.
Speaking of like the way you mentioned how people were waiting for Kotaha and how people were just so attached to the sentimental idea of her coming back, that's probably a nice segue into another one of Million Lives' extreme strengths. There is this lying theme of sentimental value within Million Live. You know how they're not just going to accept anybody for this one part. The only reason why they had to change a few roles back in the Akai Sekai event is that, as you said, Risa Tanada went into hiatus, and the way she left and the way she came back was celebrated in such a way that they made all the producers feel warm and fuzzy inside. There's this sense of belonging, family, and they're just not going to do things for the sake of having it run, right? If one guy or if one idol was meant to be here, they're going to go out of their way to make sure that she's there, to make sure that not just anybody is going to be there, right? So the feeling of sentiment, the feeling that we worked hard to put her there, she has to be there. So that's why the feeling of sentiment is definitely most apparent in Million Live. So for question,
Yeah, like
yeah,
especially. I'm sorry for interrupting,
sure,
but
go
before
ahead.
we get to question that also goes into the whole factor of when Theater Days was coming out, when they said that they were going to actually add two more idols. I was personally a little bit skeptical because yeah, the sentimentality and how every single idol in Million Live feels like they belong here. And I was a little bit fearful when they said that, oh, hey, we're announcing, we're adding two new idols to the game, Sumugi and Kaori. And I was like, how are they going to compare to the rest of the cast? And then Theater Days came out, and now 2 years later, it feels like that Sumugi and Kaori have been, part of the whole family the whole time. It feels like that they belong just as much as the previous 50 idols, and that's actually a pretty huge accomplish for the most part.
It's pretty huge because they were added to round out a whole theme, because the whole theme between adding Kaori and Tsumugi in was because before they were there we had 13 all stars and 37 million stars. So if you put that together, that's 50 people, 50 idols. And when they
Mhm.
came around, it turned the number into 13 All Stars and 39 Million Stars. And 39 is a really, 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 really important number for the Million Live fan base because, if you read the Goto Awase, or like this weird Japanese way of reading numbers, which Namco loves doing, 39 means
Too much.
San Q, because thank you. It's the whole idea of Million Live. Thank you is probably one of Million Live's most sentimental and most iconic songs. So it was great that they added these idols for a purpose, and it was also great that they weren't idols just for the sake of filling in slots, right? Tsumugi and Kaori are very unique girls. I wouldn't say completely original because Tsumugi is pretty much a tsundere character, but she is aware of her tsundere-ness, and Kaori is your usual take on an adult idol with extremely amazing vocals. They really, really likened her to Kaede a lot when they first saw her because she's like the super mature woman. She looks awesome. She looks gorgeous, and she sings really well. The only thing that I think would separate her from Kaede before, when we needed to learn more about her, was she wasn't as playful. She wasn't as drunkard and stuff. So the comparison between her and Kaede was there, but good thing that we just didn't take rehashing her and doing the same thing just to fill slots. So for question number two, where do you think Million Live could use some improvements? It's my mantra to say that not every branch is perfect. Every branch does certain things better than the other, but there's also things that certain branches lack that other branches do better. So what do you think Million Live could use some improvements? Where do you think their faults lie? Is there anything that you wish they did better?
So, just in general, I feel like one major flaw that I see echoed, and I can kind of agree, is how it feels like some characters don't really get as much like depth and just enhancement and embellishment to themselves as other characters. Like if you were to compare someone like Shiho, who has like this major backstory to her that just affects how she is as a person, and she goes through this entire character arc throughout the series of Million Live and any of its accompanying material like drama CDs, manga, and of course the Idolmaster movie. And then you have someone like Hinata, who I don't dislike Hinata in any way, but I feel like compared to other characters, I feel like someone like her is a little bit lacking. At the same time, I feel like that's also just an issue of trying to balance 52 different characters. So I get why it's an issue, but I still feel like that's something they can improve on. And also, just in general, I feel like Million Live has a small issue with trying to just branch out and have wide mass appeal. Like, compared to something like Cinderella Girls or 765 AS back in the day, it feels like Million Lives overall appeal is very niche because you're absolutely right. Million Live lives off of its talent. The voice cast is absolutely incredible. And if you were to watch like the seiyus perform live in different Million Live concerts, it's absolutely fantastic. But it kind of goes into what you were saying earlier in that following Seiyu is a lot harder than following, traditional 2D anime idols. So for a lot of people, that aspect for them isn't necessarily obvious. So I feel like Million Live could use something, I don't know exactly what, but something to give it just a little bit more of a mainstream push just to like put the name out there a little bit more because I know like plenty of people that absolutely know like so much about Cinderella Girls, but their knowledge of Million Live is very minimal because again, it's very hard to get into Million Live from a mainstream standpoint.
Concerning your issue or the opinion of how some certain Million Live characters are underdeveloped, a little, I'd say, neglected in terms of character development, you have made the extremely valid point of how Shiho seems to be just leagues ahead of certain characters in terms of character development. People are so invested in her, what she does. People are so invested in like the situation of her family. When you read the manga, you're like, what's gonna happen to Shiho? What's gonna happen to her family? Is she gonna be okay? And then you realize certain other characters. Off the top of my head, I could name Hinata, Noriko, Ayumu, Subaru to some extent. They don't get as much, and this is less of a problem of like Million Live itself, but it does plague Million Live. More so of a problem of just a general difficulty of handling these many characters. To be completely honest, this problem has been existing for most of the branches. We can give a pass to Cinderella Girls because it's impossible for them, but for Shiny Colors, even though they only have 19 at the moment, they're still having a little trouble. Mamimi in particular is having a lot of content distribution problems. Even way back for the All Stars, you'd think that Chihaya is leagues ahead of everybody else, and characters like Yayoi at one point were just left in the dust. But Million Live does have some form of bias to a certain group of characters. You can definitely see it in the way some are known more. And this isn't to say that they haven't tried, because if you play Theater Days and if you've seen the way Theater Days has developed a certain few characters, Rio Momose is a perfect example of how they could fix this. They've done it for Rio really well because before Theater Days, during the Grimace days, Rio just wasn't a character anybody gave a crap about. They weren't too invested in her. The only thing that she had going for her was she was paired with Konami. That's it. She was the only thing you would know about her is that she's always with Konami, and Konami was a super popular character compared to Rio, and she just didn't have anything. And then when Theater Days rolls around, she gets Kuraki Hoshi, she gets she gets Cherry Colored Love, she gets all this other stuff. She gets Ordinary Clover, where they turn her into an Ikemen, the exact opposite thing she wants to become. And it just gets her more and more character development. And Rio's case is a case that shows that they can help out these characters who have been left in the dust, who have just been faded into obscurity, if I could say. And, they're trying. Ayumu somewhat also has had some help with her case, but not as much. Noriko, I really, really feel, is one of the characters who suffers from this a lot. I really wish that I could just end up liking everybody, but there's just not enough to go on for characters like Hinata and Noriko. I'm pretty sure their commus will help me out, but stuff like, when you see what Rio got, and then when you look at Noriko, it's night and day, right? It's definitely night and day from what they've done for Rio and her problem, and they haven't really given the same thing to Noriko for her problem. Your second point, the thing about the seiyus is, or the thing about Million Life in itself is, Million Life is characterized by a devoted fan base who it's like I'd akin to if you compared a restaurant, or let's use restaurants as a comparison. Um, Cinderella Girls and AS back in the day, they're definitely like industry style restaurants, right? Where they can have that mass appeal. Million Live is like a fine dining restaurant that not many people go to, but they go to there because they know what they're looking for. They end up here because they know what they want and they know what they're looking for. It's not as to say that I agree with Million Live being completely sealed off. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if that were the case. I definitely want many more people to find a Million Live because there's something in here that is just so unique to other things, because other branches definitely offer things that Million Live doesn't, but Million Live offers things that other branches don't. As much as possible, the game Theater Days has definitely helped out, and I have been pushing people to read the manga. So I do agree there, but at the same time, we really shouldn't be too worried because Million Life has survived throughout all these years without like super big appeal. But of course, if I had my way, I'd love more and more people to check out how Million Live just separates itself from others. And if they don't, it's fine because again, not everything is for everybody, and there might be a branch out there for them. But more is, I'll always agree that talking to other people who share the same passion as you, as there's more of them, is definitely something that I'd enjoy doing. Like I said, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it weren't the case. Would you have any follow-up comments on that before we move on to question 3?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you there. Like even with the niche audience, it is very impressive that we're going 6 into 7 years of Million Live. That's the later half of a decade. That's really impressive, especially considering that we went through like a lot, especially with around like 2017, 2018, when the original like Gree game like shut down. Like that was like such a big shock, and it's like, oh Lord, like what's gonna happen now? Like is everything like just gonna be exclusively Theater Days? Like what's going on? And then like the fact that they were able to just power through it was just, that was really nice. And I do like the position that Million Live is in right now. I do have some issues with it, but I like where it is right now. It's just that I feel like there could be just a little bit of a better way to just like spread the love around, just like internally from Bamco. Who knows? Maybe like an anime, like someday. Who knows?
My curse is that, or people agree, and we're going to go off on a tangent here. I think we should include this in the podcast. We're going to go ahead and include this because it's very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a guy who's been here for 10 years in the fandom. I'm a guy who would appreciate, a little more transparency, but I think if an anime were to be in the works, it's going to take some time because the only hints we have that it's ever going to happen is there was a live, I don't know exactly which one it was, that Sakagami P apologized that it was taking so long. I don't know if I don't have any concrete proof of this, but I remember somewhere in the corner of my mind that there was a time where Sakagami P apologized for it, and he also apologized for, Side M Season 2 taking so long. My theory is that they're parking everything so that 15th Anniv is as good as it is, so that once 15th Anniv is done, we can return to like giving everybody the usual flow of content that we get, animes, movies, OVAs, and everything. They're probably putting a lot of stuff into 15th first to celebrate Idolmaster as a whole. Then they're going to give some more single attention to the branches that need them, because even Shiny Colors is suffering from a little mismanagement. Actually, all the branches are suffering from mismanagement a little bit, but not like in like super lethal terms. Just that it's very apparent that 15th Anniv is going to be a gigantic year for Idolmaster, and I think they're focusing on that. So maybe after 2020, maybe after 2 years, because the curse is something comes every 2 years, right? So 2011 Animas happened, then 2013 movie happened, then 2015 CG anime happened, then 2017 Side anime happened, then 2019 nothing happened because it's about to be 2020, and that's 15th Anniv. So tinfoil hats on. Like I said, I had this memory where Sakagami apologized for it taking so long. I don't really know where it came from, but that's my point. People can wait, and again, if you're still content with waiting, we still have what we have right now. Make do with what you have, and we're already appreciating it here. What more if we just stick around, right? So, question number 3.
Yeah, of course.
Question number three, for Theater Day specifically, for people who play the game, who've ingested a lot of its content, what do you think was the best thing to come out of it? This could be song wise, communication wise, character wise, etc. So go ahead.
So, in terms of theater days in general, I think the best things to just come out of it were, well, one, the amazing new songs that came from it. Like, if talent was shown from the album series, like live theater dreamers, live theater performance, and stuff like that, then it really shines here in theater days, especially considering just how often we can just get new content and new songs. And I also feel that it really helped Theater Days to just give more depth to the characters in general, because now we're able to just have like individual commues for every single character, whether it be through work, whether it be through actual like, character memorial commues, or even just event commues in general. It's just a lot easier to like get into the characters, their relationships, and how they interact with each other in Million Live in general. That's why you have stuff like For Luxury and Escape being like super popular, because people were able to know and get to really like the interactions between those units, because, well, Theater Days just made it really easy thanks to event communes. So I very much appreciate it for that.
On a hot note, this is going to be my quick response to this question. The two best things that came out of Theater Days are unarguably, and this is just like a joke answer, but sure, take this seriously. The two best things that came out of Theater Days are Silent Joker and Hanazakari Weekend. And let me explain. So, Silent Joker, my freaking god. I cannot believe that song exists. I cannot believe they managed to make that song. That song is so good. I don't think Mizuki is ever gonna top that song. Okay, well, I have faith that Abe Rika can do it, but Silent Joker is insane, and the direction that song took was mainly because Theater Days exists. They wanted a new album that showed how the characters have gotten so far. Because if you try to dig up the old albums, you'll see that Mizuki has two songs, Poker Poker and In the Name of Love, which don't really accentuate who she was right now. But if you read the Theater Days commues, especially the Silent Joker commune itself when it came out, it shows evolution. Theater Days albums and songs right now show evolution between the characters. The entire Million Theater Generation album by itself. Wait, am I talking about the right one? No, Master Sparkle. There we go. The entire Master Sparkle album, that is a masterpiece album, because there were some characters in Million Live who didn't have a good start. You could say that some characters got the short end of the stick in the way they were given songs at the start. My friend agreed that this was like, hey, we better give these characters a second shot. For example, apart from, again, Mizuki and Silent Joker, which was amazing, I could agree that from Master Sparkle, you also have hits like Rolling Sankaku, which was just an immediate hit by every facet of the imagination. It just snowballed into one of the favorite songs for Million Live as a fan base, and it just gave more characters another chance. And then Hanazakari Weekend, that's the Million Theater Generation album. It showed that the way they can combine units, the way they can combine the characters, is unmatched. When we first heard of the stream that was going to feature Konami, Reika, the seiyus, that was going to feature Takamina, Pirami, Suzy, and Cody, we were thinking, hey, look, it's the adults. And then everyone's thinking, they're four of the best singers of Million Live. They're four of the absolute best performers. And what are they going to do? What are they going to make them do? And then Hanazakari Weekend just completely takes over the internet within 2 days, and it's everywhere, and nobody can stop talking about it. Theater Days is a platform that showcases talent more than Green Mass ever could, because let's be honest, Green Mass is a grindy as hell game. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of clicking, and those kind of games just don't resonate with a lot of people outside Japan. And I know Namco...
It was a very classic mobile
very
game
classic
from
mobile
like
game.
the early 2010s.
That, no features, you just click all day, no features at all. You listen to stuff, click, read, and until the end of time. And again, the whole shtick about Namco and IMAS and outside Japan, I'm not gonna get into that. Yeah, I'll probably make an entire podcast about that. But theater days is just more accessible. Theater days, you can watch your favorite girls dance, you can watch your favorite girls sing, and Hanazakari Weekend penetrated into the main, like Hanazakari Weekend was a perfect storm of great talent, a great subject matter, which probably the entire country of Japan, and not even just Japan, the middle working class could just relate to, and amazing choreography, amazing lyrics. So without theater days, without Kaori being there, they wouldn't be able to make that if Kaori didn't exist, right? So it it's a platform that allows Namco to expand the talent of Million Light that they've already known how to make extremely great songs with even further, because now they have a better platform to do it, a better way to showcase it to more people, and a better way to just keep it stable, because you can visit these communes anytime. You can visit these communes and read them. Heck, our channel, Idolmaster Subs, has a lot of these communes going up and translating them. So, although we may not be able to send them out to you as fast as we want them to, because hey, there's three other branches of Idolmaster that we're working on, but they exist and they'll always be available. Shout outs to one of the people in the chat right now, actually, Toei. They translated all the cards for Konami from Theater Days, and in case people want to check her out and learn more about her, there I'd be glad to leave the link or pass the link on, because Konami got a lot in Theater Days as well, Cherry Colored Love and all that stuff. So Theater Days specifically, it's a platform. It's people don't realize how important it is to find a way to distribute your content properly, right? It's hard because in today's day and age, internet is fast. Internet is extremely fast, and even though people even though people will try their best to look for content, if you have this one thing, if you have this one area that you can just look for the latest stuff, it's going to be way easier that way, because back in the day when you didn't have fast internet, you also didn't have a central platform for like the Idolmaster games, right? You're on PS3, you're on Xbox. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to Japanese specific forums only written in Japanese, right? So now that Theater Days exists, we got the Reddit, we got the Discord, we got YouTube channels making MVs, you got YouTube channels making stuff about Theater Days. So a central platform, right? Everything's a lot easier to get into. This just ties into what you said about accessibility. And finally, Theater Days is the sole reason why people, or Namco has experimented with Theater Days a lot. The game, like the engine itself. If you go over to the conferences, what they say about the Unity engine, and then what they say about how they made this game, the fact that it kind of quote unquote never goes on maintenance, as opposed to like when you play mobile games nowadays, you think, oh, when is the maintenance gonna come, or what are the problems here, what are some bugs here? And again, not to throw shade, because I'm gonna do podcasts on Cinderella Girls, and I love Cinderella Girls, but not to throw shade, there has been a lot of problems with Cinderella Girls this year in 2019. The game has gone down at least 4 times, I believe, this year, and yeah, Theater Days has
and
not.
like there was also like the recent problem where like Western accounts just could not get through without a VPN, which thank God they like fixed right away, but that was still like really weird. So I don't know what's going on with the game internally, but I'm glad everything right now is fine.
Yeah, it was so weird because that's such a unique, specific problem to have, and we're lucky that Theater Days hasn't had that yet. Um, Granted, give credit where credit is due, but also be critical where it was. The first 3 months of Theater Days was horrible. Like this game launched,
Yeah.
the state that this game launched, Theater Days was terrible on launch. There was like you had no reason to play it. You had no reason, especially if you were coming off from Grimace, when you already knew about Minion Live, when you already knew about everything they got. The first 3 months were horrible. I'm
It was like the game came out in June and we did not have our first proper event with Shooting Stars until mid-August. So that should really tell you just how bad that launch was.
and it's all because of sentiment. They wanted to launch the game on Mirai's birthday, right? Because they do that a lot. They launched Shiny
Yeah.
Colors on Mano's birthday. They launched Emste on Teru's birthday. Fun fact, they didn't release Dereste on Uzuki's birthday. They released it on Mika Jogasaki's birthday. I don't know what's up with that, but they released.
Mika Jogasaki's the real main
Yeah,
character.
Mika's actually the real main character of Cinderella Girls, y'all. You heard it here. So Theater Days launched on Mirai's birthday, and it was horrible. You just gotta be objective. I love Million Live. I love Idolmaster. But when they do something bad, you have to call it out. You don't have to be a mindless sheep and say that Theater Days was perfect on release. It definitely wasn't. It was horrible.
Oh, hell no.
So they
Like, I did not play the game consistently until after Shooting Stars, and it's like, oh, wait, this game is content.
Yeah,
wow, I can actually play it.
It's as if they were trying to get it out solely to feel like, hey, we actually have this. We want to show you that it exists. And like, yeah, you showed us that it exists, but it doesn't work. There's nothing
Barely.
here. It does nothing here for us to do. So we could have at least waited, but then, Mirai's birthday and all that stuff. Sentimental value. Namco loves sacrificing practicality for sentiment. And I love them for that, but I also wish, can you not? So
It's like, can you just get a 1 month delay? Also, just a quick thing. If I remember correctly, isn't there like something significant with Mirai's birthday in general? In that, wasn't it also like the day that the arcade version of Idolmaster was officially announced? So Bamco has like a really, really like big obsession with that date.
yeah, there's like I said, they love sacrificing practicality for tradition and sentiment. And again, it's something that I love them for doing because they're a company that really enjoys all this fan base and fan Kabbalah, all this wacky number stuff. But hey, for once in your life, can you not prioritize that and get an actual launch, which Theater Days didn't have? And now, moving over to 2019, we can now watch Kanchasai lives from it. We can now, participate in convention centers from it. There's chat centers in it and voting series on it. The game is a lot better than it was now. Give credit where credit is due. But on launch, trust me, guys, if you weren't here on day one, the game was bad. It was so super bad. So we're now going on to 37 minutes, and this is, I think, the same length we've had Shiny Colors podcast season 1 in, but we're gonna allot maybe 5 to 8 more minutes of closing remarks. So this is season 1 of Million Podcast. Of course, we're gonna try and we're gonna do our best to make season 2, 3, and 4. And we're done with the general topics. We're done with the opening talk, and we're gonna move into more specific topics moving forward for season 2, 3, and 4. In case you guys have anything you really, really want us to talk about, leave them in the comments below, or you can send us a message on the channel. Let's say you want us to talk about song composition, because there's that one guy on Reddit. I really, really wish. I tried to contact him. If he goes by I don't know how to pronounce this. RROTLUNG Rotlung. I'm sorry if I butcher your name, but he goes onto the Reddit for Theater Days and Cinderella Girls Starlight Stage, and he breaks down songs like a master. If you read the Reddit threads for the event songs, you can see this guy comment on every new event song, and his description of every song is just so detailed. It's as if he's like a maestro who knows everything about music. And whenever I see him comment on Theater Days songs, he's always so surprised. He always gives it so much praise. So I really wish he could have accepted into working with us, but we have to respect his decision on not working with us. Maybe I can provide my own feedback about the songs, because again, Million Live, best thing therefore is music. If there's anything you want us to do, Metal P, in the future, would you have any closing remarks?
I mean, maybe when or if like you guys continue this podcast series, maybe you can have like an individual episode on music, and I don't know, maybe try and like bring him over, or bring other people that are like really good at music over, because I really do like this idea, just like this general idea of just like having a podcast series for just Idolmaster in general, because I feel like that's the kind of content that's really like lacking in this community. So I feel like just a good way of like bringing the community together through like sharing, their passion, sharing their thoughts, sharing everything on what they love, or maybe feel could be better about Idolmaster. I feel like that's a really good start. So yeah, like something more like this would actually be like really nice.
So we're gonna end it up here, but as per what Metal P said, we could see if there's anybody in the Discord for Million Live who wants to join us for the next episode. Maybe they have a specialty they want to talk about. The Million Live Discord is full of people who are dedicated to the series, and they may have some strong feelings or opinions that they want to express on the podcast. So we may have a few special guests on the next one, akin to Shiny Podcast Season 2, which I was supposed to post but haven't done yet. We did get a special guest.
Oops.
So if me and Metal P are just going to be the regulars for the Million Podcast, we can get some special guests. If anyone wants to volunteer, please let us know so you can contact us and be on the show. But that's going to do it for this episode, and we're going to wrap up here. Again, I'm Renault GP, accompanied by Metal P, and this has been Million Podcast Season 1, and we'll see you next time.